Going in depth right now for the killing on Canebrake murder trial. We're joined by legal analyst Grant Varner, Kim Varner, defense attorneys here in Greenville. Gentlemen, thank you so much. As always, the state has now rested its case. And Kim, one of the big developments inside the courtroom today was male DNA found under the fingernail of the victim. How significant was that? What do you think the jury is now taking away from that?
I will give the state credit. It was beautifully timed and choreographed. They ended on a Friday. The jury is going to take that home Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is a holiday. You cannot unring a bell. They ended strong. The DNA expert put DNA under her fingernail. The question then becomes, how do you get around that if you can? They're going to attack the chain of custody, possibly get it excluded, possibly have an expert who's going to say it doesn't meet certain standards, or they've got to give an explanation to show contact between him and her. They may have shake hands or something of that nature. But I've said before, if that comes out, they've got some explaining to do without any question. They ended very strong on the state's behalf.
Kim says they have some explaining to do. Grant, how would you explain it?
So, and I'm going to shoot from the hip here. If I recall from one of my last cases, the FBI standard for matching DNA is 1 in 30 billion exclusion. The testimony today was they had a 1 in 825 million exclusion, that was Zachary Hughes' DNA under her fingernail. Think back 2 to 3 minutes earlier in that testimony, the DNA on the bicycle handlebar, 1 in 2 centillion exclusion, definitively his DNA. There's a huge variation in the numbers here. So as somebody who deals in this, 1 in 825 million is not strong enough for me to say that's definitely Zachary Hughes' DNA under her nail, although it's certainly leaning that way.
When you talk about the chain of custody, there's something else that stands out to you about that, with the defense arguing the chain of custody and then asking for mistrial, which was denied by the judge.
So defense, and I think rightfully argued multiple times, there's been a chain of custody violation. The state did not accurately set forth chain of custody, either because chain of custody wasn't done correctly or it just wasn't introduced correctly. Okay, now the state argued it was close enough, and the judge denied the motion to exclude the DNA. After it was let in and the state rested their case, defense did move for a mistrial because evidence that they felt should not have been let in was let in for consideration. My general commentary on chain of custody is this: it's not like horseshoes, close enough. You can't have a leaner. Chain of custody either is or is not. There's no in between. And when chain of custody is not properly followed, you cannot say for certain that it wasn't tampered with. You can't say for certain that it was properly preserved. And on that note, DNA is finicky. It's got to be properly refrigerated. It's got to be properly stored at the right temperatures. It's got to be handled correctly. Otherwise, it's a degraded sample or contaminated.
Just to clarify for people at home as well, the chain of custody, that's recording who has had hold of that DNA sample.
From the moment that sample is collected, it is followed, and there's a sheet, and it says who had it, when they had it, what they did with it, where it was stored. And there was some question about how that went down today.
Kim, now there's a conversation that Zachary Hughes could testify. Would you put him on the stand?
It would depend on what experts we have and what they're going to say. The thought crossed my mind up until 12 o'clock today, or at lunchtime before the break. I didn't think they would put him on the witness stand. But with that DNA testimony, I'm going back to what I said. They've got some explaining to do, because despite what, people who are very experienced with this, if a jury hears like 850 million to 1, that's astronomical odds. They will convict. I'm relatively confident of that. So I think at this stage, if they've got the experts and other witnesses that maybe can show a connection, then maybe he won't go on the witness stand. But at this stage, I think he has to, and to a certain extent, I don't think he has a lot to lose, considering the way it ended today.
Grant, do you agree?
I do. If this was my case, I think he's going to have to get on the stand and do some explaining or some denying.
Okay. Grant Varner, Kim Varner, gentlemen, thank you so much as always. Court will be out on Monday, but you guys will be back with us on Tuesday when the defense starts its case. Gentlemen, thank you.